Oh, my head feels funny. Welcome back to the Red Ones Go Faster. I'm old Big Mek, and in this episode we keep working on our terrain and we finally complete our orc fortress. No, not that fortress that we used for the crazy 10th edition stuff. A real fortress. Come on, you'll see. Let's get into it. Alright, so now we've got all of these new terrain pieces built and ready for primer, and, well, the outside world looks good, so let's go primer them. Now you'll notice that I don't primer most of my terrain in black. Basically, I feel like it's too dark and it doesn't really work as well for terrain as it does for miniatures. What I use is actually this primer color, which is called red oxide. This is a specific kind of primer. You usually see it in like automotive circles. It's really good for body work. It gives you a different color so that you can sand through until you get, a nice flat surface. You also see it a lot in industrial applications, boats, things of that nature. But yeah, this is what I go with, this red oxide. The reason why I do it is it gives a nice warm undertone, and then anywhere that you don't get fully painted or that, stays in the shadow or something, it looks a little bit like rusty metal. And especially on like orc terrain or old, Mechanicus terrain, things that have been out in the elements for a long while. This is like really similar to the color that metal gets. So it works really, really, really well as an undercoat. So yeah, definitely recommend this. All right, you do want to agitate your spray products very, very, very well. A great trick for these, if you're not getting good spray pattern, if you're getting like the little pebbly texture, or it's kind of sputtering, go run this under hot tap water. You want to get the paint inside as warm as possible, and even if it's chilly outside, like it is here in the fall in the Pacific Northwest, you can still get great coverage and really smooth coverage with the primer if you have it nice and warm. So I often bring these inside, let them come up to room temp inside, run them under hot water, things of that nature to get it nice and warm, and then you just get a lovely spray primer. Now, one thing you'll notice I'm doing is I start my spray pattern off of the thing I'm painting, spray over it, and then let go of the nozzle above it. I'll show you here on the box what happens. If you start spraying in the middle and stop spraying in the middle, you end up with extra coverage in the middle. You end up with lines, runs, overlaps. You always want to start spraying off of the piece you're spraying, and then let go of the nozzle as you come away from the piece and not stop in the middle. And that is going to be one of your secrets to a wonderful, nice, smooth coat. Now, another thing that you'll notice is when you are done priming, you're going to get buildup here on the tip of the spray nozzle. You can wipe that off with a towel or a rag. Another thing to do is to actually turn the can upside down and spray until you get clear spray, thus cleaning out the nozzle internally as well, preventing dried paint or paint from being in the nozzle and drying. So we will let the underside on all of these dry until we get our nice flat finish. Flip everything over and paint from the top. You'll see that I have painted all the way around. I'm trying to get the details from the bottom, so the paint direction coming down this way so that the bottom of all of the details actually has paint on it. And you can see as this is drying, it turns into this wonderful, slightly rusty red color that really does work well on any kind of industrial structure for your terrain. And now that it's dry, you can see what I mean by painting from the bottom. So when you look at it from this angle, everything is red. You look at it from this angle, and it's almost like it has a zenithal highlight of gray. That is the bare plastic still shining through. And that is true of the inside as well. And so what you have to do now is flip it up and get it from the top down in order to get full coverage on all of the pieces. The little Death Star dome here is actually really difficult to paint because you can't just do top down. You actually have to come around the corner with it and do it from 360 degrees around it to get into all of these little nooks and crannies. Here you can see the same story on our barricades here. From the bottom, we've got nice red coverage. From the top, we have the gray, and so it makes this gradient, which could be a cool effect if that's what you're going for, but we're trying to get primer on all of these at this moment. All right, and you can see we've got a nice, lovely matte finish that's even. We don't have gray showing through anywhere. This is a great primer and base coat for us to start painting our terrain. And that is an excellent thing because the sun has gone down. Because this time of year, up at this latitude, our sunset is at like 4:30 or earlier. It sucks. So you really got to plan these things out because you do not want to paint after the sun has gone down or during twilight. What happens is you get what's called the dew point. It's where all the water in the air like condenses on everything, right? You get that water on your car or on the grass and whatnot. It'll get on your paint. It'll get on your models. And if your paint's not dry, you're going to end up with all sorts of weird water spots, and you just don't want it. So prime when it's light out, prime when it's dry out. If you can't get to those things, consider brush priming instead. All right, so we're all done with the priming and stuff for today. We're gonna finish the video out here in the workshop with me speed buggy because they're still kind of really stinky primery, and well, it's dark outside, and I don't want to bring the stinky stuff inside the house just yet. We'll let it finish outgassing here in the garage. But I really wanted to show you what makes the fortress thing that comes in the Octarius terrain so cool. So check this out. So here are your individual pieces, right? You have two of these kind of squattier sections and two of these longer sections. And you'll note that they all have the same cutouts here on the side, and so they fit together. So you can actually put a short piece to a short piece, and you can put a short piece to a long piece. And what that means is you can actually arrange this as a fort. So if you put them all together, they literally clip in place, and then you can put the little stanchions in, and ta-da, you have a complete 360-degree fort with which to defend with your orcs. Now you will notice that I only have one of these center things. What I ended up doing is gluing one to one of my pieces just to make it not have two of those, because any way you put it together, you're going to have some in the middle anyway, and so that ends up working. So what I can do now is rearrange it the other way around. All right. So if I put my two shorts together like that, you can then put the two longs next to each other and do this and have a fort that is got a front entrance and sides and then is open in the back for your army to be in. The other cool thing about this is these ladders that they give you. They actually can slot in place here on the long one. It's a little hard to do with one hand. Hold on a sec. There we go. Helps if I put it on the right one. So it's on this big girder here on the long one. You can take the two end pieces, put them underneath, and it will actually slot in place and hold nice and level. And then you can go ahead and put the other one on the other side, or do this, and end up having yourself a walkway here for your orcs to get around on your fortress. So this is actually a really cool way that you can set it up as terrain to play on and have this awesome defensible position. So that's been it for this episode. In the first one, we got all the terrain out, we took a good look at it, figured out our game plan, and built some things, did some converting. This episode, we really got into the nitty-gritties of priming and went over what makes the Octarius fort so cool. The next episode on terrain, we'll do some painting. We'll get this primered stuff inside, we'll slap down a bunch of paint, and we'll get that primered one to match the painted one pretty darn quickly. It'll be a super fun one. So if you want to see that, make sure you click subscribe so that you don't miss that upload. Now, if you want to see it before anybody else, come join us on Patreon. All of the patrons get these long format videos 12 to 24 hours before YouTube General does. So it gives you like an exclusive first look. You also get the opportunity to participate in the direction of some of these things. Like, for example, in the last episode, I showed you my IKEA lander, and we have a poll going right now on which of the 4 biomes to have the lander painted in. So if you want to have a say in that, come join us over on Patreon for that. And we have other cool and exclusive things coming from there. Appreciate each and every one of you for watching, liking, commenting. I really do appreciate it. And I'm glad that you are here with me on this 40K journey. And yeah, until next time, walk on! Oh, me head feels funny. Ah!